Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoyed your day so far, and welcome to episode 31 of the Breaking Point podcast. It's a big one. We are only a few days away from the start of the World Championship. Lots to discuss this week. We've had some confirmations what rosters we're going to be having, also a fair bit of controversy as well, and some serious elephant in the room type discussions with champs only a couple of days away, but also predictions to be discussed. Who's going to win the entire thing for the entire season? It remains to be seen over the coming days. We are live on Twitch. Thanks to all those currently joining us. Thanks to all those watching after the fact on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, all that type of good stuff. And how are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Austin, EasyMac, O'Neill is joining us again, as is Lionman. We're going to have a great time, I'm sure, as always. Austin, you confident? We've only a few more days to go until the big one kicks off.
I think this might be the most confident I've been since stage one. Honestly, I think this is the best we've looked all season, the past 2 weeks. So I think this should be a really good weekend for us, hopefully.
That's actually kind of scary, to be honest.
Austin hits us with that. Setting yourself up for famous last words. We'll see. We'll see.
Right.
How's it going, lad?
It's all good, mate. Another early morning, bright and early.
Good
to talk CoD.
Early morning making lineman cards. What could be better? If you want to redeem yourself a lineman card, get 1 billion channel points, and it can be yours. So let's crack on. First of all, Clayster return announced. We didn't kind of catch it last week, but it became official over the last few days. The Clayster's back in the team. It's there was a fair bit of discussion. Was it unfair to Diamond Con? From my perspective, it's tough for Diamond, right? He didn't get the chance to play at Challengers Champs, therefore also hasn't got the chance to play at the World Championship, which is certainly tough. At the same time, if you're on a substitute on a team like that, then it's kind of just what happens sometimes. Also, you could well argue that it was better for him to have the chance to play at the Stage 5 major than at the Challengers Champs. Like maybe it's better for exposure and to get a spot next year to have done that one rather than the other one. Still kind of tough though. And of course, Clayster back, we discussed last week, probably gives them the best chance to win the entire thing. But it's just a difficult situation, really. I think a lot of people are going at Clayster pretty hard, actually. I mean, the Reddit threads are pretty brutal. I just thought it was kind of funny because everyone, as soon as Clayster stepped away, there was all this talk about the importance of mental health and all this type of stuff. And then when Clayster comes back in at maybe a time that frustrated people in terms of okay, did he quit the team? Then maybe he's screwing over Diamond coming back. Then all the people in the Reddit threads were lashing into him and saying what an awful teammate he was and all this type of stuff. So seems maybe a bit of hypocrisy going on there. But still, what are your thoughts on Austin? It's interesting. It's not exactly surprising, but
I mean, if they wanted to win, I feel like you got to put Clayster back into the lineup. While Diamond has a lot of potential, he still had a really rough stage 5. Obviously, he was put in a really tough position, no practice and everything. But I do think if you're going to pick between one or the other, I think you have to go Clay. I don't think that's really any discussion. Clay is obviously one of the most winningest players in COD history. He's the leader of the team. And when this team was in actually really good form, Clay was, at the helm. He was guiding the troops around. So I felt like it was a pretty obvious choice to put him into the lineup. Yeah, I mean, does it suck for Diamond? It 100% does. But I think being in Stage 5 is way more valuable than being in Challenger Champs. It's just you get way more screen time, you get way more chances to prove yourself. And he did have a really good series versus Florida. He was a little bit off in a couple of the other ones, but against Florida he played really well. So I feel like that's something to build off of. Maybe we'll see him next year break in and get more consistent playing time somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like if he wanted to play at champs, they needed to take a big run in the Stage 5 major. They finished top 8. So I feel like
top 8, yep.
Top 8, yeah, like you and them and FaZe. And then I feel like, yeah, they didn't quite take it far enough for him to be solidified for champs. But I feel like he played fairly consistent all season. And so next year, I wouldn't be surprised if he just found himself on a team because as a rookie, he actually performed really well. And Stage 5, although it wasn't his best major, I feel like he actually, for the circumstances, played pretty well.
yeah, I agree. I think it's not like he's come into this season and completely flopped, because there's a couple of players. I mean, Sandy, for example, is the one that stands out from last season, and not necessarily. It's tough to say which players came in and. Did I say Standard or did I say Spa? What was I trying to say? I don't know. I was trying to say Spa anyway. But he came into LAG and played, well, didn't play great, let's just say. And this season, despite being great in challenges, has had a really tough time even getting a look in the Pro League. And it's kind of the same maybe with a guy like Venom, for example, who had a fair bit of chance this season on Thieves, didn't really work out. And it's tough to say whether that's okay, the player's underperforming, or whether that's because he's put into a difficult system in a tough role. But still, when a situation like that occurs and you come in for a couple of months and then you get benched for the rest of the year, it's really tough then to make it back in next year when there's guys out there that could be the next Simp or whatever that you want to pick up when there's limited spots. But if you're Diamond Con, it's not like you've underperformed. You've played quite a long time. You've proven you can be a Pro League type caliber player. But it's just going to be tough, right? Because he might stay as a sub still on the Subliners next season. I doubt he's going to get a starting spot anywhere, given the talent and the players that are out there. It's still possible, but not the ideal end of the season for him. But he's given it a good run for someone who people really hadn't really heard of before the season began. Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he was okay this season. I feel like he didn't do too much to make me believe that he'll be back 100% next season. Just because ARs are just so competitive, right? And we have so many ARs already on the sidelines waiting to get in. You still got to think of Glow Frosty, Gravity. You got methods. You got accuracy. So while I did think he had some bright moments this year, I'm trying to find his stage 2 stuff right now. I do feel like he did have a couple bumps in the road. I feel like he could have been a little bit better, but for the role that he got put into, he performed pretty well. So I do hope he at least gets a chance to prove himself next season too, because he definitely does deserve it. It's just so tough that there's only 48 starting spots. So if you aren't blowing people out of the water, it's really hard to go year to year. So I do hope we do see him at least some more next season.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be kind of like a Draza situation where he played good, pretty consistent the previous year, and then didn't quite make it onto a starting team this year, and then will find his way back through subs that get brought in because of other players underperforming. But let's just hope it's not like a hollow situation where he played really good that year and then just gets forgotten about the next season. So he might have to reprove himself again in challenges, which would be kind of unfortunate. But if challenges gets land, then I've got some hope for him. Do you guys think that challenges will have land next year at any event?
I mean,
I don't see it.
I'd say it's sad to say, yeah, I don't know, I feel like a challenge is champs. Come on, they could make that work. Obviously, you've got all the different regions to consider. I don't know. I feel like this time next year, definitely they're going to prioritize online. They've got to be thinking, okay, let's just get land for Pro League and make sure that works. And then if it's possible to do challenges, champs, or whatever. But I don't really know. I mean, the opening event of last year, we talked about it last week, right? The Minnesota home series or Minnesota opening weekends. There was challenges going on there. It's not out of the realms of possibility that there's a launch weekend somewhere, or they do some sort of event early season and they find a way to get challenges players there. I don't know. It's just tough to know what the state of the world is going to be, right? But
yeah.
What do you think, Austin? Shaking your head.
I don't see it. I just don't. It sucks. It sucks so much. But challengers, how many teams do you think go to a challengers event? 150, 200? That's 600 people in a small venue. That just sounds like a risk that you won't see for a while. And you got to also think they got to get monitors and PCs ready for that. It's a big undertaking. So honestly, I think we're probably a year and a half away from seeing any big challengers events. But I would like to see maybe the elite finals be a LAN. Maybe have a global challenge where the top seeds from each region battle off against each other. So we'll at least have something.
Yeah.
There's got to be
that's what I
something
want to
better.
see. I want to see that international challenges competition. Because that's what we're missing right now, is that it's each region. It reminds me of the CWL in 2016, where it's online competition, and then the LAN is it's just segregated between the different nationalities. And that's my favorite thing that I liked about champs before the CDL was that you get these international teams that get to play each other for the first time at the biggest event. And yeah, that's the one thing I feel we're missing quite a lot.
Agreed. So, speaking of next year, CoD Vanguard, baby. With this has really been the big discussion these last several days. What's going on with Vanguard? When's it turning up? The reveal is coming on the 19th of August. I think it was announced today in some like inside Warzone event they're doing. That's going to happen pretty much before Champs start. So that's pretty exciting. Also, there was a lot of talk this week about the focus on competitive. Some leaks coming out regarding how well the devs actually might care about comp this year. Now, in fairness to Sledgehammer, and we praised them a fair bit last week in terms of the stuff they did in World War II originally, and how looking back, they did a cracking job even compared to Treyarch. And so who knows how much the invisible hand of Activision has like handhold over what these guys can actually do and what they put into the game and all that type of stuff. But still, apparently there's some serious focus on competitive. There's rumors that we're going to be getting 16 6 versus 6 maps at launch, which is honestly incredible, especially given if there's I would have been happy with 12. When the rumors came out there was 12, I'd be pretty satisfied with that, given they love to do these massive maps now, and there's Warzone focus. They've got to make a new map for that. So I was like, okay, give us 12 6v6 maps and we can find like 6 of them that are good enough for competitive, especially if London Docks is coming back as it's rumored. But 16 is just spectacular. There's talk about, I mean, look, if there's competitive focus, then there's, I guess, a good rank play system. There was also talk about them having a roadmap, as in like, okay, maybe at this date we're going to launch ranked. Maybe at this date, this is where the seasons are going to be for ranked. Maybe there's going to be some sort of drops for stickers and signatures into the game at this date. There's, I don't know. There's stuff that sounds exciting. Now, obviously, does that ever particularly often turn into reality with Call of Duty? Not necessarily, but definitely a hopeful week for CoD Vanguard after really the talk these last several months has been how much of a tragedy this title's going to be, to be honest, Austin.
I get sucked in every year where I kind of I get excited even though I know I shouldn't. I think that Vanguard should be able to capitalize. I feel like we're in for one of those years where we've been okay, and then this is where it should be a good year. I did hear a rumor that the color is supposed to be way brighter than in World War II. That makes me happy. It's gonna be the Modern Warfare engine, which I actually love the gunplay on the Modern Warfare engine. So I feel like as long as we can tweak some other things, then that could be a positive too. 16 6v6 maps. When's the last time we've had that? Honestly, Modern Warfare 2. Like I feel like we really haven't had that in a minute, and I feel like that goes to show that they are probably putting a lot more focus on the multiplayer right now, knowing that it's kind of dying and for the casual player. So I honestly have a lot of hope for it. I do like the leak that said that they're going to be competitive focused because I feel like that's a little bit out of left field. I feel like that is a leak you usually see because why would it's just there's more important things to Activision than competitive. So that was nice to see. I thought that was a little bit out of the left field, but hearing that they already have a roadmap and an idea for what they want to do, and the game's not even out for another 3 months, is honestly amazing. So this might be the year that we can finally get excited and we don't get our hopes and dreams crushed in December.
We're already seeing the tweets of people saying, "Oh, this is the year, best COD ever," and it's
I
like,
did every year,
bro,
though.
yeah. Wasn't it Attach who did it every single year up until like
Yeah, he already
World War
did it
II?
again.
Yeah, he did it
Oh, he's
again
still
this
doing
year.
it. He's still doing it.
Has he been right yet, though?
He was
No.
right
This year
about
wasn't
Modern
that
Warfare
bad.
2019, is what he
Yeah, but the whole
says.
point is he's saying it's the best COD ever. And the last time that actually was
It's
true
going
was
to be,
probably
I
Black Ops 2.
believe. I have full faith.
All right. Well, my hope is that they go a little bit wacky with this game rather than follow the same path as World War II. Even though it's obviously a very similar game, or looks to be, I hope that they go like crazy with camos, vibrant, just make it a little bit more out of left field, just to make it more exciting, like almost like a Treyarch feel like more cartoony, because that with World War II I think could actually work because they've already done the World War II game, which was very grey, very true to life almost. And so if they can make it a little bit more crazy this time and a little bit less true to life, it might actually go in its favor. But yeah, hoping for good rank play, hoping for good maps. But that's what we hope for every
Oh,
year,
you
and
need, baby.
we don't get it every year, do we?
We'll see. We'll see.
Wasn't there a rumor that like this was World War II, but it like time traveled, and for some
What?
it was like an
Yeah,
alternate
something like
reality or
that.
something like that.
I think it's like if wait, I don't know. I don't want to say
It
something
was
that's
like
wrong,
it
but
was
it's
like the
like
what if of Marvel, but
yeah,
instead it was
it's
like
like
the
the
what
what
if
if
of
type
World War
thing.
II.
Wait,
So I think it happens
jetpacks?
like after well, there's not going to be jetpack. I think it takes place like yeah, exactly yeah. I think maybe like if the Germans won or something, yeah, like Wolfenstein stuff,
It's
like
gonna be
after World War
wild.
II
I
takes
hope.
place. Like I don't know, it sounds kind of exciting to be honest. Um, like regardless of I don't know, I just want the game to be good for competitive, but I'm also down for just a good game. So
Yep.
that could also work. And colors is also a positive thing. Like I saw those tweets as well listed, and I was like, well, if there's colors in the game, that because like everyone, whenever people talk about World War II, they're like, oh yeah, it was actually looking back, pretty good game for competitive, but it was a bit dull, wasn't it? Like that's basically what
Yeah.
everyone says.
And the audio?
Yeah, okay. Audio might not have been the best. Divisions as a concept, maybe not ideal. But I guess speaking of like concepts and stuff, there was some talk also about that there would be some almost Rainbow Six-esque type stuff going on where you can. So there's doors going to be back in the game, but apparently doors play a lesser role than they did before. Like instead of just having to barge them open, you can like destroy them. There's apparently also like you can destroy walls and like shoot through like wooden planks and stuff to create lines of sight. Now this already is like okay, if you're a game like Rainbow Six and you've got time to balance and adjust and make things correct, then that can work great. But in COD, like it's going to be a mess probably at the start. However, does it add a nice depth of strategy, right? What I don't really want is someone going up to like the fourth floor of a building, shooting out the floorboards, and then just like checking the bomb from from miles away, which might be what happens. But this could be done in a good way. I hope it's like controlled. I hope they don't just go like the Battlefield route of okay, any wall you just blow it up, like no problem. If it's controlled and there's certain areas that you can shoot out to give yourself line of sights, then that might be kind of interesting. But hopefully it's balanced nicely for competitive because I can already see the complaints of the pros, and there's probably a good title and thumbnail in that somewhere down the line, Austin.
Yeah, it's got to be controlled. It's got to be built into the level design. Like if it's all haywire, then it ruins the flow of like the map. So if you're able to just blow a hole through a wall wherever you want, then it's just you're in trouble. So uh I kind of like it because it's different. Like we've never had that in Call of Duty. The best we've had is in we've had like an avalanche on the side of a map or a tidal wave come in 8W. So it can be cool. I just hope they don't go too crazy with it. I do like the potential for like getting like nerdy spots where if you nade off the start of the round, it blows up a hole in the wall. So when you finally rush there, like you have somebody rushing and then somebody throws a nade. So when it blows up, the person rushing gets there and has an angle that like you can catch other people rushing from the like. I think that is cool. I think that brings an extra like layer to the game. It's just you got to be able to know that X wall can be blown up or Y floorboard. I just hope you can't blow everything up, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I also just hope that there's less. You remember in Modern Warfare how the lines of sight were just so crazy? There was like 10 windows above and you could shoot from every different angle and you never know where someone is.
That
Um,
is Grasner
yeah,
Raid is the map that like
yeah,
just really takes the cake for that one.
I'm hoping that there's not so many lines of sight in this game and that there's actually more like understandable angles and that you can actually pre-aim and the ones that you know. But we'll see. This game was made during Modern Warfare, so probably not the case.
We'll see. I think that's a great shout. I mean, yeah, that Grasner raid map. There's like a video that got recommended to me on YouTube once, and it was just like a short video of this guy trying to like cross the street on Grasner raid, and he was like trying to check all the windows, and then he came out to try and run across the street and just died like immediately from some other window that he didn't know existed. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like they've got to think if they make the maps like good developers make maps. Okay, this is one power position. This is the counter power position. This is the cover that you push up on to try and take a child there. Like, if they do that, we'll be fine. And I'm sure if we got 16 6v6 maps, some of them will be done quite well. The final thing I wanted to say on this, there's actually one more things. One of them I thought was a really interesting point for Mad Cat as to why they might be focusing on multiplayer being a bit more competitive, because you could well argue that nowadays all the very casual new players, they don't even play multiplayer anymore. They just go and play Warzone. So like, is Warzone, from Activision's perspective, is Warzone the new like casual Call of Duty, and the multiplayer side can be determined more towards the competitive side? That might make sense. Maybe if you're like, let's say you're Valve, right, with Counter-Strike, you've got your Danger Zone, which is the battle royale, but obviously your competitive multiplayer is like the focus. Maybe they see it kind of going that way in the future, because competitive play is what sustains games over time. And obviously competitive Warzone's pretty big, but maybe they're thinking, all right, like let's actually think about multiplayer through a more competitive lens, and that's going to maintain it over time. Probably optimistic thinking, but if this is the case, then maybe Warzone's actually helped in a way, because I think Warzone in theory can be a massive help to the COD scene, but I think a lot of pros right now would see it as taking away resources and such from multiplayer, which I think is understandable, but maybe they can turn the ship around there.
I think a lot of people view Warzone incorrectly. I kind of touched on this last time. We just got to think of it as, everyone's helping each other. So I don't think that they're going to be using multiplayer for that purpose. I still think multiplayer is where the mass casual audience goes, because even though Warzone has a ton of players, like there's only so much like camping and roaming around the map you can do and then once you get exhausted of that, you just jump right into a TDM. So Call of Duty will always have at least 60% of their player base playing a TDM. So I just think what they're trying to do is I think they realize that they can make a lot of money off of the competitive players if they make camos and content based around them. I think you see that in like Valorant. I think you see that in CS where they have like weapon skins. So they're starting to realize that there is a market there for competitive players to make them even more money. So I hope that's what they're going for, where they're like, maybe this is an untapped player market that we can tap into and make some money from.
Yeah, I agree with that multiplayer is still pretty much the main market. I've got mates who aren't like serious Call of Duty players. They'll just hop on and just play TDM with a sniper, and they just want to get sick kills. And I think that that's still key. So I think having snipers and competitive is a good start, because then those new viewers can actually like practice with their snipe and then take it to rank play, and it actually translates. But oh, I was gonna say something. Oh no. Continue and I'll pick it
Okay,
up.
we can come back to you. No problem at all. I mean, yeah, like feel free to come back at any moment. The other thing I was going to say, like along the same lines, I guess, with the next game is on the sniper side, because a lot of talk about people wanting snipers back. Dashi was saying on the OpTic podcast a couple of days ago that he's like, if I was a fan, I'd be just well bored of the scene right now. The fact there's no snipers in search. Also talking about how it makes search and destroy play worse, because it's easier to peek things. You don't have to worry about getting sniped, so you can just get free information and back down because you've got so much health, which is kind of true. So obviously you want snipers back. I think that would be great to see in the next game. I do kind of wonder, like, given the pros have kept snipers out this year, it's understandable there's a good reason for doing so, but back in World War II, for example, snipers are pretty strong. Like on a map like Texas, God forbid I have to talk about that map again, but for some reason it's come into my head. It was pretty common occurrence. People just whip out two snipers and use them, even on offense. People just bring two snipers out, one A Street, one B Street. Like nowadays, would pros look at that and say, hang on a second, this sniper's too strong. It kills you from the leg up. Like, let's just GA it again. Like, I don't know if once you take that step towards GAing snipers this year, that it's then easier to justify going forward. So I don't know if it's just necessarily going to come back into play as smooth as it was, because they were allowed this season right at the start, and then they got GA'd a couple of months in. So don't know how that's going to play out, Austin, but
I wish they would get creative with it, because I think there's a couple solutions you can do here. Now the reason why I don't love snipers in Call and S&D is because you could just whip it out whenever you want. I kind of like in other games, like even like Gears of War, CS, Valorant. Obviously, you have to earn the sniper rifle. You have to get the money for it. You have to either get it. It's like a power weapon, like Halo. I wish they would do maybe it as a kill streak. So after like 5 kills, you can get like a power weapon, and that would be like the sniper or like this LMG or something along that lines, or a shotgun. or like maybe you have to get like 5 kills in an S&D, and then your sniper is like activated, and then if you get 10 kills, you can pull out like an LMG. I don't know. I just wish they would make something, because while like S&D is fun to watch with a sniper, it can also be kind of boring, because then if the map is too centralized around the sniper play, then you're just watching snipers try to go at each other and different angles. So you have to find the right balance between like BO4 sniping and where I thought that was kind of like fun and harder and a lot of fun to do, to World War II, which was like super easy, and it was just like the car was just wrecking havoc. You could run that actually people were running that in respawns. Even this year, people were running snipers and respawns at the beginning of the year. So it's like we can't make the snipers too easy, and the maps can't be too open, because then it's static, stale gameplay. You gotta incentivize players to take risks and go around that route too. So that's why I actually liked it this year without snipers a little bit, because it was more around your SMG play and like how the openings your ARs can make. There's a little bit more chess action going on there, but I do wish we could get the sniper sometimes. That's why I think maybe like a kill streak, or um, a dedicated kill total, or like score total, you get to unlock it and use it, something along that line, to make it just so it's not every round, you know?
Yeah, like kind of like the War Machine in Black Ops 2. Like, yeah, upgrade weapon. Yeah, I didn't really mind this year without snipers, to be honest. Like, I liked it was a bit refreshing to have players allowed to push up onto sites and not have to worry about getting picked. Like especially maps like Raid, I feel like a sniper would have just been OP, because hitting B and like there's just a giant line of sight. It's very easy to get picks. But yeah, didn't mind it. I think it really depends on maps as well next year. If we get like a USS Texas, I feel like that map would play really strange without snipers, or maybe it would play good. I feel like because the whole time in World War II, we would just see two snipers pretty much, at least one on each side, potentially two on each side, and that map played pretty strange. But yeah, I feel like yeah, if they don't have snipers next year, it'll probably be because they get GA'd by players again, which would really suck. Oh, but
Yeah, I think it
I did remember
depends.
my
Go
point,
on.
by the
Yes,
way.
please.
My point was it was about Warzone. I know this is a real switch up, but I feel like the reason that they're putting time into multiplayer is to get people who play Warzone to buy the game, because Warzone's free, and if they put effort into multiplayer, they get more people spending money
Interesting.
into camos, all that, because that's where the actual money is, buying the game rather than playing free to play with your mates. But
I
anyway,
like that actually. Yeah, that's
That's
the
actually
gateway.
very smart.
That
Yeah,
is the play. I like
I
that tagline. Good
I
stuff.
like that reasoning a lot better than
That
anyone
makes
I've
more
heard
sense, because
does.
the money tree needs to keep getting fed. I like
I was
it.
an IQ lion over there.
That's a big IQ line. We need to get an emote for that in the Twitch chat for sure. We'll get that figured out. But yeah, I think like certainly true. I think on the sniper side, I'm kind of. It depends on the movement to a degree, because in Black Ops 4, like the Paladin, I was awful with that. Honestly, when I pulled it out, I would just whiff at everything. I did not even have a good time with that one. But in like World War II and especially Cold War, it's just way too easy. Like, I'm just not good with the sniper. It is way too easy. Part of it's the movement, right? Because Black Ops 4, technically it wasn't a jetpack game, but it kind of feels like a jetpack game. Like you got 5 lads on the map, you're sliding all over the shop. The slide is so long. You got this guy grappling around the map with the sword. So all these things that made the game somewhat harder to snipe in, and hopefully they just balance it relatively well. And then we could be in a good spot. But we've been cracking on for half an hour here. And we haven't yet got to what is the elephant in the room. And that is the fact that there's a very precarious situation right now for some of these players leading into champs in just a couple of days' time. We've got we've got Scump and Envoy still, at least as of recording, testing positive. We did say a few days ago the fact that yes, you might have had it, you might have completely recovered and no longer be contagious, but you can still turn up positive on the test. Now, like, we could talk about whether there should be some other rule in place that means that because I don't know what the guidelines say. People were saying in the comment section of today's video that if you've had it and have tested, if you've had it like for 14 days, if you've shown no symptoms for 14 days after having it, then you're not going to be contagious, even if you're still testing positive on the test. So it's like, maybe there should be a rule that says if that applies to a particular player, then there's like an exception there. But I don't know. The rules are as they are, and that means that very precarious spot. We've got the OpTic guys delaying their flights, or Scump and Envoy have delayed their flights to come out. They were meant to fly today. They're going to fly tomorrow instead. Even though if you guys are watching on YouTube and other platforms, it'll be today for you guys or whatever, and we won't know what will happen by then. But yeah, precarious situation, no doubt. I guess what I'm wondering is, Austin, whether this is affecting anyone else, just because we've only heard about Scump and Envoy, but there's been rumors that like up to 8 players have been affected by it. Whether that's still affecting them, I don't really know. But it's obviously not what we want to see, being 3 days out from champs, and we don't know if the most popular team with the most popular players is actually going to be playing in full force, which is not going to be good if it's not the case. You're on mute.
So,
Oh no, you're not on mute.
yeah, no, I
My bad.
have to watch what I say here, but I'm not worried. I was actually kind of laughing when I saw the if Scump and Envoy aren't there, I want like a refund.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
I don't think anyone really has anything to worry about. Like the CDC guidelines are, if you don't have symptoms, 10 days after you're not contagious. When was stage 5? When was the last day of stage 5?
It would have been Sunday the 1st.
The first?
Yes. Yeah.
So by the time the event starts, what does it start on the 19th?
Yeah.
So that's more than 2. Yeah, it's like 18 days. As far as like everyone's publicly, privately, I don't think anyone tested positive less than 14 days from the event. So I really don't think there's really anyone that should be worried. If people think the CDL is going to have this event without Scump and Envoy, like this kneecapping the team that everyone like has the biggest fan base, I think I don't know. Basically, I'm not worried about it. I do think every team's going to be there. I think we would be hearing stuff by now if every team wasn't going to be there with their full rosters. Yeah, I just think even Scump and Envoy were talking on their streams. They don't have symptoms. They feel fine. It's been weeks. They've just been waiting. The thing that made me worry is that I was seeing that they are requiring you to have a negative PCR test, but people can test positive for up to 3 months after they've had it, just because even if they're not contagious and don't have it anymore. So maybe they look at the rules differently, or maybe they tweak it to where I don't know. I feel like you just got to I would not be worried if I'm an OpTic fan or a fan of the CDL. I just feel like they're going to be fine. You're not going to see Karma. You're not going to see Sender. You'll be fine. You'll have Scump and Envoy. They'll be facing off versus New York. I just don't think there's really anything to worry about.
Last night on the stream, Scump said that he bought like a bunch of COVID tests to take himself that he was doing after his stream, and we didn't see any tweets after.
Those are just rapids. So like they need to do PCRs, which are done as like urgent care and stuff. Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't tweet about it is, I don't know. I don't know if that's telling or not, but we'll see. But the only problem I see is that with stage 4 and Hook just writing his name slightly wrong, that stopped LA Thieves from having their full roster. And I feel like it's a little bit more of a precarious situation now with 2 players who actually do have COVID. And if they do come back positive, I don't see them letting them compete, like similar to how Hook couldn't compete for like the smallest thing. So I'm worried about that, but for now, there's not much to worry about yet. But that's the only issue, is that they might be really strict on it. We'll see.
It's just like what I wonder is like, because these tests, they don't, like you could get false positives on these tests, right? Like they're not going to be 100% accurate. Like what if a player comes up just before, does the test in the morning and like they don't have it, but it just comes up as a false positive because like 1 in every, 1,000 times that's going to happen. Like what's the protocol then, right? Like they don't have it, but then you do a rapid test after the fact. Okay, so I guess that makes sense. I don't really know what they'll do. I'm inclined to agree with you, Austin, in like what was it back in Black Ops 2 Champs? Like you were meant to be 18, right? But Scump wasn't 18, but they let him go anyway, or something. Like they found an exception to let him go, because like he was the biggest player. So it's like just because it's Scump, it makes me feel like they've got to find a way, because it'd be a disaster not to. If they have to make some exception or something, like if they just write something into the rules last minute to say, yeah, well, if they've been fined for 14 days, then it's okay, even if they're positive or something, which seems to me to be sensible, quite frankly. Like,
I mean, like right on the CDC website, it says you can be around others 10 days after your symptoms first started or appeared, or 24 hours with no fever or without the use of fever-reducing medications, and other symptoms of COVID are improving, right? And it says, and there's an asterisk that says loss of taste may not come back for months. So if you're going by the CDC guidelines, 10 days after these guys started getting symptoms, they're clear and good to go by now. I feel like that's probably what they're going to end up. I feel like the negative PCR test is just not sustainable, because you can still test positive even though you don't have it for literally months, weeks after you've had it. So I'm sure. Again, I really don't think you're gonna. The difference between Hook not playing because he missed a COVID test hours before his match is much different than the current situation that you're in. So I really think there's just no reason to worry here.
I like the optimism for sure. We'll have to see. I hope that is the case. I mean, obviously we don't want to see. The thing is, like, your SMG duo is just the most irreplaceable as well. Like, it's possible that if your AR has it or can't compete or something, that someone could slot in a better way. But because, okay, you just sit, you hold spawns, whatever. But SMGs are just so hard to replace at the best of times there. I just like it. If anything happens to these starting rosters, at least in terms of the SMG line, it's very tough to see them winning anything at all. And the thing that I was thinking as well is that I was wondering whether it was like, let's say OpTic lost to New York because they had to play with General and Sender or whatever. Then okay, maybe Scump and Envoy can get back the next day. But the problem is they play both their matches on the same day. So on the Thursday, you've got the winners round one and then the losers round one. So if you lose the winners round one, the OpTic are in, they also play last game of the day. So there's not like an extra day buffer to still be in the tourney just in case. So I don't know, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they'll, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. We talk about they can't bend the rules or whatever, but the rules have been bent before, and maybe the rules aren't quite what we think the rules are. I don't know, but I think you just got to be sensible about this type of stuff and do what makes sense to keep everyone safe. What are you going to say, Lion?
Imagine if they OpTic win the event with General and Sender as the SMGs.
Yeah, imagine send to the
Oh,
World Champ. Nah,
yeah.
people were saying Karma should come back in, and then he can get his fourth ring and be undisputed GOAT status. And there you have it. I mean, look, I don't know. To be fair, though, this is what I wonder actually, Austin, because General is their substitute, but like Sender isn't signed as a sub, like to my knowledge.
They
Like,
said they are. He is.
He is? Okay, he is. All right. So it's all
That's
good.
what I've seen. I've seen that elsewhere that he's said that he's like signed as a sub.
Okay. But if he wasn't, let's just say hypothetically, like there's another team, two players get it and can't play, like what do? You've only got one technical sub. You've only had to have one technical sub by the rules. So who do you get as your other one, right? Like what exceptions there have in play? Because I know there was talk on the flank right about how if Diamond Con couldn't make it to the States when like he was brought in for Clay, but then it was like, okay, can he actually get out there? If he wasn't able to do so, they'd have been able to do like an exception for another 14 day or something. I guess that'd be the case here if it was
100%.
necessary. But like, who do you even get at that point? You just rig up your mate, like, all right, head
That's
down to
what
the event, Damon.
that's what I'm saying. Is like you would already have heard of a substitute being signed or something like that if there was like a worst case scenario. But the fact that you haven't, there's nothing out there. If there is like a worst case scenario, if somebody that's tested positive tomorrow, I guarantee you they would do everything they can to get a suitable replacement there as quick as they can. And yeah, so again, I'm not too worried. Um, it, this is a bad situation. There's an unlucky situation. Anyone can call it what they want to. But I feel like the league and the players and the teams have handled it well since it happened. And I think we're gonna be in for a good weekend. Honestly, I feel like people just I think we just need to wait till like Wednesday. If there's no bad news on Wednesday or Thursday, then it's gonna be a good weekend. So let's just not blow everything up just yet.
Hoping for the best for sure. Any thoughts, Lion, before we do predictions?
I just hope that no one who goes to the event actually has COVID as well, because that seems to be obviously the way that the players caught it from people who brought it into the venue. So yeah,
You need
just hope for
a
that.
negative test to get in.
Now, oh yeah, right, it has changed there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're bringing in. I don't know if because I don't know. Reading it, it said you either need to be vaccinated or have a negative test. So I don't know, but still, it is what it is. Let's take that positivity and go into champs predictions, because I was hoping just to be able to do this straight up and not worry about, oh, what if the asterisks of this and that. So let's just do it straight up as if all the rosters arrived. I don't know if you can bring this up, Omar, because I can maybe, I don't know, I can go through mine first, or we can go through the other ones first, or whatever. But so when I was, yeah, you're good, Omar. I'll just keep talking for a bit. So my thinking was that Lion made a pretty good hot take for stage 5 and said that Rokkr are going to win. So, and even though, to be brutally honest, I think that this has got to be FaZe's year. Just the way it's gone, like, it just makes sense for FaZe to finally win it here, given they fell short last year. They've all the best players, but I can see a world in which they don't win. After stage 5, before stage 5 major, I would have said that going into that major and champs, I'd probably have taken FaZe over the fields just about. But now I'm the other way around. So I'm going hard, and I'm making some kind of, I don't know how bold these predictions are. A couple of them I think are kind of bold, but we'll see. I don't know if you can bring it up yet, Omar, because I can't see this stream right now, which is kind of my bad. But okay, that's all good. Wait, can you kind of see like the bracket as it is right now? Or I'll bring up the stream so I can see what's going on here. Yeah, all good, all good, all good. So yeah, what we're going for is to crack on with. I've got OpTic playing. Okay, no, we can kind of see it. All right, sound. I can just screenshot it, Omar, if you want to bring up the screenshot. Like, I already put the screenshots in the chat. So unless, or yeah, or we can just go through it like this. Basically, I've OpTic 3-2 subliners. OpTic will take out New York. I think it's going to be close. So many of these series I have going game 5. I think it's just expected that there's going to be some banger series right here. I think that OpTic find their way past New York. I don't think it's going to be easy. New York apparently been looking pretty good in scrims as of late. On the other side, I've got a pretty hot take of Rokkr like falling out top 8. I don't necessarily think this is going to happen, but I'm going for it anyway because Dallas have got weeks to prepare here for Minnesota. They're one of the best prepared teams in the entire game. I think they're going to come out and do a number on Rokkr, take him down here, really prepare super hard for what Minnesota brought to the table, drop them down to losers 3-2. Empire are going to go on to lose to Ultra, FaZe are going to be OpTic, and then I've basically got Ultra winning the entire thing in pretty intense fashion, and somehow trusting their clutch factor, which I don't know about. But then in the lower side, we've got Subliners beating Mutineers 3-1. They beat them every single time, so I feel like this is no exception, to be honest. Like, they're 5-0 against them on the season or something, right? So I'm saying New York win that one. The reason why I've got OpTic making the run they are is because OpTic coming top 3 at these events happens every year. So I'm going for it again, and I had to find a way to make it happen. So this was the most sensible route. And then I've got Rokkr falling 3-2 to Thieves. I've got Rokkr having a tough weekend here, falling top 8, but I can see it happening. The final stage winners going ahead and repeating the trick at champs is so hard to do. It happens occasionally, but not particularly often. And also Thieves in the lower brackets with Slasher there, and I feel like they've got a win in them down there somewhere. At the same time, it must be said that the winners round 1 and the losers round 1 matchups do happen on the same day. So the team that comes from winners starts hotter in effect. So you could argue that then the other teams might be, they've got players to warm up against at least this time, as opposed to the major Sundays. But still, that's what I'm going for. Then I've got Dallas beating New York, Crim versus Clay. Dallas move on. I've got OpTic taking down Thieves 3-2. And sorry, I'll do the numbers for you, Omar. These are just going to be straight up 3-2s. And in the winner's side, okay, we've got FaZe 3-1 against OpTic. We've got Ultra 3-1 against Empire. I didn't want to go all 3-2s. I was like, that just looks ridiculous. So let me throw in a couple of 3-1 fashions. You know we love those over at TacticalRab Game Productions. But yeah, that's right. And then down the lower side, we've got Empire beating Subliners 3-2. We've got OpTic finally taking out Thieves 3-2. And I don't know, am I putting too much faith in OpTic's game fives? I think I might be, to be perfectly honest. So maybe give it a Thieves 3 or give it a 3-1 to OpTic in the end there. And then I'm going to take OpTic to beat Empire. I've got 3-2 again on my bracket, but I feel like that's just OpTic winning all these game fives is probably not going to happen, but we'll see. And okay, so then we've got FaZe dropping down after losing to Ultra 3-2. I've just decided Austin's going to go with FaZe. I don't know who Lionman's going with yet, but I'm like, look, Ultra, there's two things that can happen off this. Either Ultra really, like, their head's gone, they might split up next year. I don't know, because their players are in an interesting spot on Ultra where you've got some players that might be re-signed, some players that are on minimum salaries that might be trying to go elsewhere. So I don't really know what this team looks like after champs, but they've got very talented players. If they can bounce back very well, and I think they can do from this defeat, and I've just got to represent, this is the best European Call of Duty team that we've ever had, so I've got to be optimistic and say that they can do it. Beating FaZe is going to be hard, but they always put up a good fight, so I'm going to say they beat FaZe 3-2, FaZe drop down and take down OpTic again, because is that what happened last year? Did you guys beat OpTic twice in champs last year, and that's what knocked them out? I think it was, right? So I'm just going to say exactly repeat the trick, which feels a bit harsh, but whatever. OpTic finished top 3. It's an OpTic classic. I've got FaZe making grand finals as they do, but I've got Ultra winning an epic game 9. So Ultra going to take it game 9 fashion, and they're going to go down 4-0 and make the reverse sweep. That's not going to happen. But anyway, that's what I'm going for. I think really the two predictions that are interesting is Ultra winning, which is tough, but maybe there's a world in which it happens. And then I've got Rokkr going up top 8, which I think is also a bit of a hot take. So those are kind of the two spicy things I thought I'd throw into my bracket. But it's kind of optimistic, I've got to say. But I thought going with FaZe to win is a bit too dull, even though they probably will. But on you go, Austin. I think I went on for a long time there, a bit of a ramble.
All right. I'll let Omar reset it real quick. Okay, so I tried to not pick so many 3-2s, even though I really think majority of these are probably going to be 3-2s. At this point, we're at the end of the season. All these teams are really matched up pretty heavily. The map pools are really conflicting. So the first one I have is probably a big shocker the most. I have New York winning 3-2 versus Chicago. I think a revitalized, rejuvenated Clay is a threat. I think this team is going to regain their form that they had at the beginning of stage 3. So I think they're a really scary team right now. I've heard really good things about them. And OpTic's obviously been sick, so I don't know how well their practice has been the last 2 weeks. So I wanted to throw in a curveball off the rip. The second one I have is Dallas 3-1. I think Dallas is obviously a really talented team. I think Minnesota's coming off of a high, but we've been practicing against Dallas a lot lately. I really like how they play, so I'm just have them going 3-1. And the losers side, I think OpTic bounces back instantly. I think they're one of those teams that just when they get like that kick in the ass, they're just like turn red and they get nasty with it. So 3-0 right off the rip. And then I think Minnesota bounces back too, 3-1 versus LA. One of the things, again, I'll go through this real quick. Not only do Florida and LA start in losers, but they also don't get a warm-up game. So OpTic and Minnesota will be coming off of a warm-up game. So I guess that's just a big red flag with the format. It really sucks for them. So I do think Minnesota warmed up will take it. Going up to the top, I have us 3-0ing New York. It's old man Clay versus his sons. So I definitely think they'll want to beat him pretty badly. So I do hope that one's, obviously I don't think it's going to be 3-0, but I'm just going to put up there just for hoping. The Toronto match, I'm going to put that 3-2 versus Dallas. I think Dallas matches up really well against Toronto, but I do think Toronto's map pool is a little bit stronger. I definitely like Toronto and S&Ds, so I have them going 3-2. In the losers bracket, to start off, I think what's the matchups? Chicago Dallas. Chicago, I have winning 3-2. Chicago loves playing Dallas. I always want to beat them, so that one's gonna be a bloodbath. The second one, I'm gonna have Minnesota winning 3-1 and knocking out New York. I feel like this is where Minnesota gets their never back down mojo kicking, so I feel like they're gonna make a little bit of a run. Going back to the top real quick, I'm gonna do Atlanta 3-2 over Toronto. Every time we've played them, it's really, really close. We match up really well, but obviously I have us winning, so we just got to make a run at some point. And I feel like after we get tested by Toronto, it would be really good for us. In the losers bracket, I have Chicago winning 3-2 versus Minnesota and finishing them off. If you remember right, Minnesota knocked them out in round 11. And I feel like this is their like revenge tour they can get. And then Chicago versus Toronto, I have Chicago 3-2 as well. It's like their revenge tour in the lower bracket for Game 5. So I don't think Chicago has beaten either of those two teams in round 5, maybe, or map 5. But basically, they have Chicago making the run. And then I have us winning 5-1 in the finals. As I said, I feel like we're in like very good form. The stage 5 was just a real like kick in the ass, I guess. We've revamped a lot of things, and it's just like I've never seen some of these players shooting as straight as I have before. So I have a feeling that the Chicago Atlanta rivalry that fans like to call it is I feel like that's just going to be one of those like E Clasico matches that people will remember for a while. So yeah, that's my bracket.
I'm gonna make this a little bit quicker. I'm just gonna say the placements because, I've got
Very.
Florida and LA finishing top 8.
Not
Top
bad.
6.
No
I
respect
have.
for Kyler Ken, man.
Oh no,
Come
wait.
on.
Sorry, no. That is correct.
Who's
So
that?
Florida and LA Thieves out top 8. I then have New York and Dallas top 6. I then have 4th. I have FaZe.
Wow, let's go. How do they
Yeah.
lose? I want to know.
So I think they lose to Rokkr in Game 5.
Interesting. Wow. So they lose to Opt. I don't know. Okay, go.
Yeah, so I have them losing 3-1 to OpTic.
Okay, cool.
Round
Let's
2.
go.
And then elimination final, I've got Rokkr winning 3-2 over Toronto. So Toronto finished 4th. And then, oh no, wait, 3rd, sorry. And then FaZe
Yeah.
4th. And then the final, I've got 5-3 to Rokkr over OpTic.
Wow.
Second,
What a bracket,
Rokkr
baby.
first. Disagree with me all you want. I was right last time. So
I like
we'll
it,
see
boys.
again.
Let's go.
Genius.
I like
I
the
also have a
variation.
fact. Only 3 times out of the 8 champs has a team gone back to back, and that was to win champs and the event before. And that was not Cole, it was Furico 2013. It was OpTic 27. Oh no, it was Envy
Yeah, it was MV
2016,
2016.
and then
United.
OpTic 2017, and then E United 2019. So 4.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And
So it
then
does happen, but it's
Rokkr's
not
5.
like Rokkr's gonna be 5.
Yep.
I like it though. I think that's it. That's kind of the way I see it go with Rokkr, to be honest. Like my take is hot that they're just gonna get double boobot first rounded, but there's also very much a world in which like they make a massive run, probably through losers somewhere, and just make finals again. Like they're easily good enough to do it, but it's just the way the format's can be pretty brutal. Like teams have got a long time to prepare for you, right? Like because if you're Rokkr, okay, you're preparing hard for Dallas, and then you're expecting to win, and then you're preparing for Toronto. Whereas if you're Los Angeles Thieves, you're preparing hard for either Dallas or Rokkr. So it's like I don't know. It depends how much the preparation comes into it, but these guys have had weeks to go over VOD and prep strats, especially in search and stuff. So that's what I'm excited for, to see how that goes. And I think that Dallas, especially, is a team that's going to be very well drilled in search, which is why I kind of see it going that way. But these series are so tough to call, right? So anything can go very different. But that was pretty interesting. So Yeah, I guess we all went three different winners, which is good. None of us had OpTic winning, which isn't really a surprise. But Lion did have OpTic in the finals, which this is a crazy stat, right? Out of the top 6 teams in the league, so you've got FaZe. Let me think about these: FaZe, New York, Dallas, Rokkr, and Toronto, plus OpTic. 5 of those teams have made a final this year, and the only one that hasn't is OpTic, which is kind of interesting. Which be the first time that's the case in a while. This is one of the real reasons I'm hoping Scump and Envoy can actually make it. Is just because, like, let's say they have a really I hope they do well because it's good for the esport when they do well and there's good viewership and stuff and they make a run. But if they don't do well, then there's questions. What does the team do next year? Especially if they don't make it the finals, it's like, can this team actually win an event, right? Because you've had plenty of opportunities. Pretty much all the other teams around you have made a finals, and OpTic weren't able to do it. Certainly some unfortunate circumstances, but those questions, you've got to think, okay, what changes, if we want to make any, do we potentially make? Whereas if Scump and Envoy can't compete, then it's like, oh, well, we just got screwed over again. That was bad luck, and let's just stick for next year, even if it might not be the best thing. As we say, I don't know what they do, but that's why I'm hoping we get all the full strength rosters so everyone can see how they fare up, and just have a great weekend of CoD with no asterisks, because that is the problem at the end of the day. If asterisks start appearing, like last year's champs was online, which is still, of course, an understandable asterisk, we hope that this year's one doesn't have to deal with any situations like that. And even if it doesn't occur before the event, could occur during the event, like we're yet to see. But hopefully these predictions, if they're not accurate, at least the teams that we expect them to be fielded are going to be fielded. So love to see it.
And that is our champs predictions.
There it is, ladies and gents. So yeah, I mean, of course, let us know in the comment section below how you disagree, as I'm sure you very much will, down below, and come back to let us know that we are wrong when inevitably Florida Mutineers make the run and win the entire thing. So, no other question.
Wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah.
Is my face doing something weird again? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
For the love of God, though, CDL, do not have a team starting in losers bracket next season for the playoffs, and then not only have them start in the losers bracket, but then have to play against a team that just lost and already got a warm-up game. Like, please, I don't know who's like, just make it an 18 bracket, 1v8, just double limb, just make it easy. Just keep the Sunday how it is. Love it. Love just finals on Sunday. That's all we need. So. There you go. Raise.
Very much agrees.
That's all we need.
Especially because, as you were saying, like it definitely adds more complications and issues when it's like, oh well, the team from losers, not only are they losers, they don't ever get a warm up. So have fun with that one, lads. And that's the great thing back in the day about having group play. Like OpTic would come out on Friday, they'd maybe lose a map here or there, they'd look a bit shaky against some of the lower teams, they'd warm up through the weekend. That's how it would go at champs. You have to get better every day if you want to win the entire thing. Nowadays, it's just like, well, you win 3 series, you win the thing if all goes to plan. But to finish off before we go to some viewer questions, wanted to discuss quickly this kind of interesting. Octane did a video this week. He was discussing rosters that could have been in COD history, and he was talking about 100 Thieves at the start of Black Ops 4 when they wanted to make the move for Pharaoh to be out of the squad, and they wanted to put Kenny on an AR rather than an SMG and bring in an SMG player. Eventually, they got Priester because FaZe didn't qualify, so they could get him and Crowder, their eventual coach, and then, of course, went to do great things. They were also, if they didn't get Priester, they wanted to get Dylan CoD, which is interesting because that was before really. He was obviously great at the Pro League qualifier on like Team Sween or whatever, but people really started to know about him when he was killing it on Reciprocity later in the year. So they wanted him. They also wanted Simp. Now, they said that realistically, they couldn't get Simp at the end of the day because, first of all, there was a $600,000 something in that ballpark buyout, which is just like incredible for the United Cadets, right, that they had over there. So they couldn't realistically have got him anyway. They were also saying that they were like, even if they could have got him, they probably wouldn't have done because they kind of thought that he was like a baiting like SMG, like he wasn't maybe as good as he was made out to be, which is just like a classic thing that veterans say about new talented players. And maybe sometimes they're right? But in Simp's case, he pretty much could do it all. But still, and of course they couldn't get him either immediately because he wasn't 18 yet, so they would have to get someone else and then bring Simp in. So it probably wouldn't have happened. But there's a parallel universe where Simp makes his way into that 100 Thieves team instead of Priester. And there's an interesting question there, like in terms of how the CDL would have trended, or really how the last couple of seasons would have trended. Because first of all, it's like, would Simp would have been as good in the grapple sorg role as Priest was? Because Priest was great in that role. Personally, I think Simp could probably do anything, but not necessarily where he might be most comfortable. And then there's like, well, if that had happened, he probably would, well, not necessarily probably, but may not have ever teamed up with a BZ. You don't get that duo. Like they could still be completely on separate teams. So I don't know. I think it's nice to kind of theory craft about what the timelines could have looked like if certain things went different throughout CoD history, Austin.
Yeah, I mean that would have been something. I think he's capping when he says that he was like a kill hoary kind of SMG, because anyone that saw that man play any wager in Black Ops 3 and IW and could look in the mirror and say that he didn't have one of the greatest talents that we've like seen coming up the pipeline. It's just crazy. But yeah, looking at that and then looking at the possibility of what if Abizi went to FaZe at the beginning of Black Ops 4, just honestly,
Yeah, exactly.
somebody should like write about like the possibility like branches that could have created, because while the Simp to 100 Thieves one wasn't really ever going to happen, just because like buyouts and stuff, the Abizi the FaZe one could have easily happened, and we could have seen a team of like Zuma, Attach, Abizi, Stellium, and like Priesta or Crowder coaching them. Like you could have seen something like that, and facing off against 100 Thieves and E United like with Simp and I don't know. Could have just had some powerhouse teams like in Black Ops 4 that just never happened. So I always love looking at the what ifs for all these, but yeah, yeah, Tommy roasts Ben all the time for the 50K buyout, but yeah, I still can't believe that transfer didn't go through, because Abizi was like the same level as Dashy was in World War II, where it was just like, this kid's gross. We just need to get him on an actual team. So yeah, one thing I always wonder is like back in World War II and like Black Ops 4, like we knew who the powerhouses were coming up. You know, like the Dashies, the Abizis, the Simps, the Stelliums. I don't know. Like I don't really know who is now. Like I don't know who's the 18-year-olds that are coming up now that are just like we can't miss this kid. Like I feel like I don't know too many underage kids that are going to be like the next coming of actual like crazy rookies.
Yeah, it
That's a good
seems
point.
like this year it's been a lot of like veteran players and challengers who are teaming up with other, known players that are winning. But touching on Abizi and Simp, do you guys think that either of those guys would have a career as close to successful if they hadn't teamed up?
That's interesting. I think like
100%.
You think
they're
so?
definitely crazy talented, but like would they have the accolades they have though? Like they'd
That's
be
what I
as
mean.
good, but it's like if they weren't teaming together on E United, does that team win champs? Like maybe not, right? Like maybe 100 Thieves win, so maybe they're not world champions if they're not together. Like they'd be winning events for sure, and they'd still be dropping crazy numbers, but it's just the way their play styles just work perfectly with each other.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely terrifying. And yeah, so I think they'd be good, but I don't think they'd have the accolades. Like, because E United is where they got the majority of those accolades. And if they weren't together, then, but you never really know. Like, let's say even they weren't together on that E United squad. Like, do they then still find a way to team up for Atlanta FaZe in Modern Warfare? Maybe.
I still think so.
Probably, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably find a way to do that anyway.
All five of
It
them
doesn't make
were
sense.
like best friends, like in and out of the game since they were like 14, 13. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Don Snaps is kind of right. But just to quickly comment before you say line about when you're saying like who are the next up and comers, is like back in the day, so many S&D tourneys and Charles getting on all the time. Like you could see Simp and Alien, Cell and these guys streaming and players streaming against them. Like nowadays, I don't know, maybe that does exist, but it's just not as easily found. Like I used to watch Simp stream all the time back in Black Ops 3. and all these S&D tourneys and chals that were going on, and keep an eye on who were like, when I found out that kid was like 15 playing Black Ops 3, I was like, are you kidding me? This guy shoots the MA straighter than anyone I've seen in my life. Nowadays you don't, quite get to see that to the same degree, so harder to say.
What I was gonna say is, do you think, or what do you think the closest SMG duo is to the current Simp and Easy, like in history?
Wow,
Like,
that
there's
is
no one
interesting.
really that's like
Tachizuma?
that, like 1-2 punch. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's like the only other one that seems close. But
But
other than that, it's like,
Zuma was never as aggressive as Abizi. Like Zuma was like more of the cerebral flanker, and Dylan was
that
like the
reminds
more
me
like
of
passive.
Envoy now.
Yeah,
John and
maybe
Appleby,
John
I
and
think, is a
App.
good shout.
Yeah,
That's
but
not a
there's no
bad
one
shout
who's
at
done
all.
it across 3 games. Like usually it's just one game that 2 SMGs dominate, and then the next game it's like it's someone else entirely. Whereas Simp and
Appleby
Easy
and
have been the best
Sensor.
for 3 years straight.
Way throwback. Wow, I'm gonna age myself pretty hard here. Scump and TP. I think
You're on
I'm remembering
leverage.
this right. On Quantic Leverage and
Yeah.
Black Ops, they ran through everybody.
Think about
That
it though,
that
it wasn't SMGs, it was FAMAS.
I think there was some SMGs, but
I think
those
wasn't it just
two.
174U and then like 3 FAMASs?
Well, I think over in EU it was like all FAMASs, but I think in NA they made it GA to where you had to have stuff.
Oh,
But
okay.
it was
It's
so
been too
long.
long.
Yeah, honestly, it's been like 15 years, but I feel like it's so hard to put a stamp on exactly who. But
Yeah. So
Agreed. It's like,
essentially, end of discussion, they're the best SMG duo of all time already.
I think, there's no doubt about that. In terms of
Yeah.
accolades and ability, it's a good point. Like, because you'd want to put Scump in there somewhere, but he never really had like an SMG duo. Like
Nade shot.
on, yeah, exactly. It doesn't really work the same way. It's
No.
not quite the same 1-2 punch. Like I was thinking about how people said that Aches, when he was in his prime in like Ghost days, was kind of like the Abizi before Abizi and the way he played around the map and stuff. But like he didn't kind of have like TP wasn't like the simp of that team
No.
in terms of what he did for the squad. It was different back then anyway. But I thought that was kind of it's certainly an interesting discussion, like what those guys have done. It's so hard to find, and also nowadays SMGs seem more important than they were in the past because the gameplay is different.
Yeah. Way more slay heavy now.
Yeah,
if Scump had somebody that just ran forward and shit on everybody, he would obviously be there. But I feel like every
Yeah.
SMG duo he's had, whether it was Karma or Krim or Merc, like they were
yeah,
always because like SMG duos, you can either have like one cerebral flanker and then one like slower one, or one flanker and one aggressive, or one
One
slow,
every
one
day.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different variations. I feel like Scump's never had one like cracked out really aggro because he's more of like the slower pace SMG. So slower Slayer. So he's never had that cracked out SMG. So it's kind of hard to say. Like maybe what if in 2017 when it was like because like Formal usually occupied the extreme aggression role, right? And Krim was a really aggressive flex. So you needed your second SMG to be more of the cerebral flanker or objective player. So it is one of those things where you could think about like what if roles or roster composition was a little bit different for Scump in the past.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, wow. Like the what ifs in CoD are crazy. Like when Scump left to go to, what would Scump's SMG duo have been on that Envy team if it had stayed there?
John, right?
Like what was that squad? Was it
Was
was
it
it
John? Hold up.
Was it
John the
John or
team at
App?
the time? Because it was like, was it, yeah, exactly. Because I was thinking like maybe him and App would have been kind of nice because Apathy's hella aggressive.
Hold up,
So
I'm finding it
like
out.
Scump and App could have been a nice duo if
Pretty sure App wasn't
that
on
was everything. Yeah, I don't
Envy.
think he was at the time. Like wasn't that like
Oh, it
nameless on
was
that team or
Merc.
like Merc?
It
Yeah,
was
Merc
Merc.
was on the team.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was a
They played
wild time for
one.
sure.
They played 1 2K and came second.
Yeah.
Poofy, Gunja, Scump, Merc. Their
Apparently they
Wow.
team
were
now will
getting
be
Ginja,
so
that was
ass.
the guy I was
they
forgetting.
were getting thrashed in scrims, and then they like Scump streams went from like huge, and then like every week
Oh,
he would
really?
stream, it went down. He was talking about it on the podcast one time, and he was
That's
like,
funny.
He was like, I was watching like Nate shot and all you guys go up, and I was just going down, and we were getting smoked, and I just knew I had to go back.
I had to go back. Yeah, that's so funny. Like that is such a strange thing about like the OpTic cloud, the OpTic gas in a way. Like anyone joins OpTic, the Twitter followers go crazy. The Twitch viewership goes crazy. Like I remember when Octane was in OpTic and stuff, like everything was going crazy for him. And like Crimsic certainly felt that, right? Like when he left OpTic, like the streams go. The only time OpTic fans come into the stream is to talk trash, even though you've done so much with their org for the last however many years. Just how it goes.
Yeah,
But
you become enemy number one.
yeah,
in the league.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, which is insane. But yeah, like that's a good point. You don't wanna give that up for free for sure.
What happens
So
if like Dashy leaves? Does he become? Oh yeah, I guess because when Formal left, he became enemy number one.
yeah, like
Yeah.
even think about Formal. Like Formal right
I feel like
now,
Dashy,
you could
Modern
join on the
Warfare Dashy
stream.
wasn't hated though.
It's because they were coming top 8 every event.
Mm. Not like hate it. They wouldn't
Damn.
like hate him though. But it's like, do people really like hate Formal though? Was that a thing? Like but I feel like people kind of wanted Formal to do okay as long
Yeah,
as
there
they
was a lot
weren't
of.
playing Optic. But as soon as they play Optic, like we're definitely,
It was like parents divorcing. There was a lot of split fan base, but majority, like probably 85%, stayed with OpTic. And then there were
yeah,
people like me who wanted LG to win.
I feel
yeah.
like
I mean,
he
it was a
talked
nice
about it
story
too on
though.
stream about how he was just exhausted with fighting. It just didn't work, so he just had to move on for the betterment of OpTic. I feel like people like sympathized with that, and it was just like he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's like when Karma, I guess, was on Seattle. Like there was kind of, I think we talked a bit about that when Karma left, and then there was the other split up of the dynasty and stuff. And Krim went to Dallas. It would kind of like split the fan base in a way, but that's just not really how it worked at all. Like they just stay with Optic or the Huntsman as it was last year. That's generally how it works. Even if you've got big players moving elsewhere, some people will go with them, but maybe a lower percentage than I guess I thought. But people always have like a soft spot, but like it's always when Optic are playing, it always is how it is, which just shows the strength of the brand is bloody incredible. So yeah, RST is another decent example for sure. So yeah, cool. I think we've been cracking on for quite a while. There was a couple of interesting questions I did see that I might put in the chat right here. Like I don't know, I'll pick out one of them real quick. Just as from Websify, would there be a world in which a player actually subs someone in for search? I think maybe we've touched on this before, but I don't know. Like, because it happened last year when Enable got subbed out for like Panda for like a gunrunner search, and Joey Nubsy and the Seattle guys actually tried it. Now, I think there's a world in which it could work. I think even Teddy Rex, I have some clips saved in some depths of my OneNote where Teddy Rex was like, they actually were planning to bring me in as an SMG sub, but like the team didn't want it or something. Because he was like their search and destroy analyst last year, but they were thinking about like subbing him into their actual roster, but it didn't happen for whatever reason. So in certain situations, yes. I mean, my perspective is like a team is going to work best when the team has like the team culture and the energy and like everything is coordinated and working well together across all the modes. You're probably going to reach the highest peak when that's the case. But given the fact that when you practice, you just practice hardpoint and the other game modes, and then search and destroy. Well, it depends actually. Nowadays, not quite the case, right? Given the best of 11 stuff, like it used to just be you'd kind of go back and forth between the respawns and practice search maybe on another day, which maybe lends itself more to that. But if you're playing like a best of 11 scrim and you're subbing in like someone in between maps, I don't know. Like if I'm getting subbed out for search, like I'm kind of feeling hard done by. Like I don't know if my head's fully in the game there with the team. If they think I'm not good enough in search or something, I don't know. But maybe the other way around for the sub that's getting brought in. So I just think that it could work, but in terms of like team chemistry and vibes and culture, like I just don't think it's the best move. But it could work in certain circumstances, maybe.
What do you think, Lion?
I remember Joey Nubsy like going off about how this is going to be like a normal thing back in like Black Ops 4, and it just never happened. I find that swapping out a player for SND, I think it's just bad for chemistry, and you don't get enough reps in SND to really make that viable. If teams were practicing SND as much as they practice respawn with that other player, and it's working well, then I think obviously give it a go. But it seems like players don't get enough reps with a team in S&D to make it like viable. So probably not.
I'm gonna be real. The S&D scene is pretty dead, mostly due to oversaturation. There's a million tournaments going on at once. So right now, with the S&D scene in the state that it's in, there are no S&D stars. It's just not a thing anymore. If you're an S&D star right now, you still play Respawn. You're still in the challenger scene. There is no S&D scene right now. If this was 3-4 years ago, like think Black Ops 3, 100%, 150%. We'd see guys like Blast, Simp. You'd see guys getting stage time, getting screen time in S&D. Now, like what S&D player is out there right now is significantly an improvement over any pro player, and it just doesn't. There's no one that really comes to mind. Like even thinking about it, like most great S&D stars in the past are better off doing what we did with Tupac. Tupac is like a huge asset to us. He's more valuable to us as a S&D analyst than a player than he could ever be. He is immensely valuable. So I definitely think yeah, that way is the route to go. But if the CDL ever condensed the S&D scene, which they 100% should do, to just game battles and shut down all the other sites and all the other Twitter tourneys, and instead of throwing a million tournaments a day, just threw like 5 per day and really condensed it into one, so it's still an achievement to win a tournament instead of a participation trophy, then yeah, we could see the S&D come back, and with that S&D subs. But right now, there's just no S&D stars that are better. It's a significant improvement over the pro players in S&D.
Mm-hmm. And even when those players did play back in like World War II, like Blast when he came in, and who are some other ones? There are a few like Pharaoh as well. Wasn't he mainly an S&D star when he came in?
Yep.
It's like these players weren't
Beowulf, I guess,
when they
as
did
well.
play pro. Ricky, yeah, it's not like they were complete dominant players in S&D. They did have slightly smarter players, but it's not like they made the massive difference that's going to win you a series. And then they'll, and then it's going to fuck up the team with like chemistry and respawn. So it's like sticking with your team is probably a safer bet than mixing around players in any situation, unless you have a generational talent.
Same thing with
Yeah,
like Desi too.
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, exactly. I think the camera's glitched, but it should fix itself. New software stuff going on over here, so we're just going to try it out, and maybe the camera fixes itself, maybe it doesn't. I guess do you have any other questions you wanted to touch on, guys, before we finish off the show?
I guess we could touch quickly on do you guys think that OpTic will win anything while Formal is on the roster? Personally, I see him as the weak link. What do you guys think about that one? I feel like that one's
A
kind
Debo
of
1912.
yeah.
Check the questions, lads.
I don't think he's a weak link. I just feel like having Dashy on that roster as like the main slayer kind of gives him less opportunity to be that main slayer, just like R-Cities on FaZe. It's like the main AR in this game doesn't get the same presence on the map as the flex player in a way. And also, it seems like this year alone, like last year, ARs were meant to have like a 1.2 to be successful, whereas this year, because of the lack of recoil on SMGs, it's not like you really have this massive advantage over players at range. So you're not getting easy kills like previous years. So I feel like even he's dropping like a 1 KD most of the time, and he does seem to be better online right now. I think it's just a little bit unfair to say that he's like the worst player on the team when he's actually given quite a difficult role and isn't meant to be like a key slayer as much.
Any thoughts, Austin, or I can go?
Yeah, you can touch on it first.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if there's someone on the team who's probably most replaceable, it's probably Formal right now. But that doesn't mean to say that this squad of 4 can't win an event, because I look at the teams that have won events in Toronto and in Rokkr, and obviously the FaZe guys. Like, I think OpTic, in terms of their ability and their ceiling, are right up there in that category. Like, it's just the fact of the matter is they haven't put it all together this season. And there's other squads, the likes of Dallas, that are in a similar boat with the talent and the potential to win events, but it just hasn't gone their way. Now, I don't think that Formal is necessarily what's holding them back. I think that it might be a wider team composition issue, or clutch factor, or maybe just things haven't gone their way as it might have done this year. But I think that squad of 4 certainly can win an event, and I think that it's, you could look at a team like Toronto before stage 2 and say that, will a team with Bance in it ever win an event again? Just because he was playing particularly poorly for a time, like another veteran player that maybe had his best days behind him, and then all of a sudden he turns up and just turns into a monster. Like kind of same thing with Attach in a way. A lot of people were saying, myself included, I was like, okay, well, Attach hasn't, at least statistically, and even eye test, wasn't playing great this season compared to what he's done before. And then all of a sudden at stage 5 becomes an absolute beast and wins the thing. So Formal still has that potential in him to have a crazy takeover game. With Dashi on the team, does that composition necessarily work the best? I don't necessarily know. Formal's also an incredibly important piece of their content strategy. He's been probably the most entertaining player on their team this season, which is a consideration for Hexred if you are considering roster changes. Even though maybe in an ideal world it shouldn't be a consideration, but it is a realistic and understandable one. And also you've got to think about communication, right? And I think that Formal, from what we hear, does an awful lot for their comms. And seems to be very well attuned to those situations. So despite the fact that they haven't put it all together this season, I still think that 4 has what it takes to win an event if things go their way. And I also don't see who do you swap Formal out for that makes that squad all of a sudden a winning team. I don't think that is easy to do at all. I think that any change you make for Formal might just make the team worse. If you want to actually build a better team, you might have to rebuild in a different way, even though I don't know if that's possible either. So that's why they're in a tough spot. That's kind of my thoughts on Austin.
So there's a reason why everyone's not a GM. So when you look back at, when OpTic were the best team in the game, what was their roster composition, right? It's not as easy as just saying 2 SMGs, 2 ARs, because it's just not how it is, right? Realistically, what they had in the past was they had 2 very aggressive ARs and Crim and Formal. Well, Formal was the main AR. That man was putting up engagements like an SMG. Crim, very aggressive on the flex, right? Scump, more of a slayer, right? So what you needed to make that team the best is a selfless person who was taking routes, which was doing the objectives, and that was Karma, right? Fast forward to here, to where we are now. What is that roster composition, right? Because it's obviously not the same. You have 2 new players in. Dashi is the star player, right? He's that star AR. He's going to be the more aggressive player, right? Envoy is the flanker, right? He's the one that's trying to make flanks. He's the one that's trying to be smart on the map. Scump is more of the slay heavy, slower AR. So what do you need to fill in that lineup, right? Yeah. So right now, Formal is not in a position to put up high numbers, right? And one thing that people will misconstrued is that when you have 3 slayers in front of you, your KD should be very high, right? When in reality, that is actually the opposite of what should happen. If you have 3 slayers in front of you, 1, you see less people per game, right? You get less of the easy kills, less of the kills that have half health, right? That you just get to put 2 bullets in and that's your kill, right, on the scoreboard, right? You don't get that because you're the last man up usually. Where if the 3 guys fall in front of you, it's more like a 1v3, 1v2. You're pretty much fucked in that position. And you get put in really bad positions on the map when those 3-star players aren't performing to the star level that they need to be, right? If Dashi's having a bad day, it's even harder on Formal, right? Because he's the one that's doing the flank. He's the one that's holding down spawns. He's the one that's getting in hill. He's the one that's doing the dirty work on the map so the other 3 can be star players. And people don't understand that. Just like in the NBA, where your point guard needs to be the one giving assists sometimes, right? People have to give and take. Everyone will look at Alex stats for our team, and say wow, he's performing really badly. But in reality, he makes the game easier for Tyler and Chris and MC. He's the one that's blocking. He's the one that's saying, you guys can make those crazy routes. I have your back. We will be in a position to win if you do your job and I do mine. And that doesn't show up on the scoreboard. That's hard to see. That's hard to understand without hearing the comms, right? You don't like me and you don't get to see that every day, so we don't know. Is Formal doing his job? I think so. I honestly think so. I think he is not the weak link. I think the weak link for them is consistency in their stars, right? If you're a star player, your job is to put up star-like numbers, right? So if you're maybe Formal isn't doing the best of job setting them up, right? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know what's going on in the comms. The best we can do is really break it down. But yeah, I don't think I definitely don't think he's the weak link on that team. I just think they need to find a system that consistently puts their star players in a position to succeed. And right now, I just feel like right now it's very day to day for them. One day they're looking godly and they could beat literally anybody, and then the next day it looks like they have some holes in their setups and they just need to plug them. They just need to find a way to consistently have their players in positions to really shut down the other team. And that's really hard to do. It's super hard to do, and that's something that just comes with time and having a great coach, which they do have, and figuring out together, right? Don't just give up when you get hard times. So I definitely think they should definitely stick, even if they do bad at champs.
Cracking statements from the lads.
That's my tangent.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think like Exahazi makes an interesting point, right? Like they had the entire year. If it hasn't got together at this point, like how long do you give it? It's tough to say, but this is well, they've got to get through champs first, right? And we're only a few days away at this point. So I think that is a good place to end it. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we close out the show? It's been an absolutely cracking time again. The chat's been electric. You just love to see it. And perfect timing, really, to gear us up for what's hopefully going to be an absolutely beautiful World Championship with everything back in order, with fans back in the venue, more fans in this venue than there was, like double as many, right, as the Stage 5 Major, I think. There's going to be like 3K, 3.5K here, and Stage 4 Major was like 1.5K, and that was packed in there. And maybe they'll spread things out a bit more. We don't know what they'll do, but it should be a banging event, and hopefully it's going to be great to see because Stage 5 Major was fantastic, and I hope that doesn't kind of go down as the best event of the season in a way, but it's going to be tough to beat it, let's be honest here, at the World Championship.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. We finally get a big LAN back in LA with fans. Multi-million-dollar tournament. It's going to be, I feel like we're turning a point in Call of Duty where if the next couple months go well, we're in for success,
Yeah. Stage 5 Major really changed up the vibe of COD because it felt like this whole year things were going downhill. And to see the fans still really passionate about the game and seeing people show up, like there were 3 times the amount of fans I expected at the last event, and they were actually hype as fuck. So this event, just hope for more of the same, and then up the hill we go.
Agreed. The optimism's back in business, baby. We love to see it. Well, anyway, thanks all for joining us. We'll see you this time next week, pretty much. We might leave it another day or so to Tuesday, whatever works for Lion, pretty much, after Champs concludes. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to discuss, and there's also going to be rostermania stuff happening after next week as well. We're going to try and do some shows with regard to that. We'll also be doing the pre-show before the events, before the game days this upcoming weekend. I think I should be okay, at least on most of the days. We can make it happen. But yeah, lots of content to come. Hopefully a cracking weekend of Call of Duty ahead of us. Best of luck, Austin. But also best of luck to Lion and myself to get our brackets right. Because if you get our bracket correct, you win $100,000. If you saw that. But if you predict the perfect bracket all the way through, same as last year, you get 100 grand. But you have to get all the map scores right as well, which is probably not going to happen. But with any luck, it happens. Yeah, I mean, I think someone wins 50K guaranteed, because if no one gets the entire bracket right, then, which happened last year, no one got it right, but the person who got it closest got 50K. So not too bad.
All right.
So there you go, ladies and gents. That's the play. Anyway, thank you for watching. Drop us a like on the YouTube. Subscribe to that. All things considered, that'd be fantastic. You've got Apple, you've got Spotify, you've got twitch.tv/GG Breaking Points. We're on all platforms. We're going viral. And you guys are helping us every single step of the way. Thanks again. Take care of yourselves. And we'll see you next time.